there has been a lot of talking heads weighing in on Travis Kelce's future. His performance in the Super Bowl, it was underwhelming. And on his New Heights podcast, it's the pinnacle of podcasting. He said, I know everybody wants to know whether I'm playing next year. And right now, I'm just kicking everything down the road. I'm kicking every can I can down the road. God, he's so articulate, said Kelce, a 3-time Super Bowl champ. I am not making any crazy decisions, but right now the biggest thing is just being there for my teammates and being there for my coaches, understanding there's a lot that goes into this thing. Man, this is really just very meathead, but it's very meatheaded the way that he phrased it. I've been fortunate over the past 5-6 years. I've played more football than anybody. He went on to kind of point out that, getting to the Super Bowl every year has been an extra toll on his body. It's been like a whole extra season. Do you think he should retire? I kind of lean on the side that he should.
It's time. We know it's time. But can he give up the fame of being an NFL player and then have to come to grips with acting classes and vocal classes?
Do you think that's where he goes next?
He already signed like a contract with an acting agency to try to get that taken off. So that's going to be a whole different commitment for him. Here's why he wouldn't have retired, I think. This is going to sound real crass, but if he didn't start dating that lady, I don't think he would have retired.
That's a way to put it.
Because she's got him being a socialite, going to Wimbledon and drinking and eating and boozing and doing all the party stuff. Whereas if we're just going to look into a different sport, and I know he's the pinnacle, but LeBron isn't doing all that. He's investing so much into his body. You look at other NFL greats that are still active right now, over 30, like Derrick Henry. The amount of routine that he puts into his year-to-year nutrition, fitness, physical therapy, it's absurd. It's like, I think it eclipses like $900,000 a year that he's putting in just of his own money to keep himself healthy and fresh. I don't think Travis Kelce's doing that. I think he was just enjoying the ride. Yeah. Great for him. That's exactly what I would have been doing if I was playing in the league. How much of a legend?
Also dating the most popular female artist in the country at the time.
If I made it to year 8, if I ever made it to year 8 in the hypothetical NFL that I made it to, you would never have seen a bigger piece of shit walking into training camp every single year. Gold jacket or not, I made it. So now I'm the vet. I'm gonna be doughy coming into camp. I know the Tony Gonzalez quote, hey, I know how to run a 10 and in. I know how to do that stuff. Leave me out of this training camp BS. I'll show up before the first preseason game.
I think the way that you talked about this is a really good point to address how he's performed over the past few years from 2016 to 2022. He eclipsed 1,000 yards. The last 2 years have been the clear regression. 984, 823. He's starting to regress. Now, those are still pretty good tight end numbers that he put up. Like this past year was 97 receptions, 823 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
He had 97 catches this year?
There's not.
Nuts.
Well, this is why I think that when we watched the Chiefs and everybody was weighing in on the Chiefs, it was, man, the offense just doesn't have the same juice. Yeah, it's because Patrick Mahomes keeps throwing the ball to Kelce and Kelce can barely move. Yeah. He's not the same guy. The 2 parts on why he needs to retire, visibly on the field, you can see the guy doesn't have the same level of juice that he used to. He was known as being a really athletic tight end.
He was a yak guy.
That had great long speed, that was a separator, not a good blocker. The tight ends that have longevity in the league, I think, are the physical ones, are the guys that win through contact in the red zone. That's never really been Travis Kelce. I mean, shit, Gronk, who was super physical, got knocked out of the league much quicker because he couldn't sustain the amount of injuries that he did. But the last part about this, he is clearly super invested in his personal life and the perks that his personal life brings now that he is in a completely different world of being the most well-known. Maybe would it be crazy to say he's the most well-known NFL player just in the world because he's dating Taylor Swift? Is that too hyperbolic? I think that makes sense because he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Here's the thing: the sample size changes, or the investigation changes because the person he's competing with is also on his team and also affiliated with all the Swift madness.
But I don't think many people would be able to say like, oh, I know who Patrick Mahomes is.
Yeah, but Kelce's not in the Gatorade ads. He's not in the Adidas ads. He has plenty of it. That's a great question. Who's more well known, Kelce or Mahomes?
But to this point,
it might be Kelce because of the
I think it is
the women.
But to this point, he very clearly is enjoying it as much as possible, and he should. He's at the end of his career. There's no reason for him to be grinding it out unless he was really that dedicated to football, and it's clear that he's not. He's not, and I don't care if that makes me an asshole for questioning his commitment to the sport, but it is not as much of a priority as it should be if he was trying to play multiple more seasons. If he was fully committed to this, he would have outright said it. He would have said, I'm already starting to train. I'm already getting ready to go.
Yeah.
You mentioned LeBron. LeBron doesn't get distracted with things like this. You're not going to see him. You see him out and about, but he doesn't visibly ever look out of shape. He doesn't visibly ever look like he has lost a step. He, at the age of over 40, has been performing at an elite level still. Not the same level that we're used to seeing, but still at a great level. If Kelce wanted to go for the long haul and for the longevity of playing a ridiculously long career, his actions would have been different. It's time to just tap out. It's all good, man. You got your ass kicked in the Super Bowl. It didn't end the way that you wanted it to. Don't be like your brother and try and keep chasing this thing until it gets run into the ground.
I think that's the nicest way that we could have ever had this conversation, which is saying, yeah.
Or what's the mean way?
Well, he's fat and he's slow and he dropped a bunch of passes in the Super Bowl and he was loafing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And pointing out all the real negatives that a lot of these people want to point out. But just noticing that it's time. I think that is a fair, objective way to look at one of the best tight ends of all time's career. And I hope they get Kyle Pitts for a 5th round draft pick and they just go to the Super Bowl again next year. And I watch a number 4 overall pick become.
Jared Wiley's next up, man. Jared Wiley from TCU's next up. That dude can move.
He's got some juice.
Yeah, I think it's time to pack it in. He's time has passed him by.